Why are they there? Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross with answers that you might want to hear. After all, one day you may be facing one of these judges.
3 o'clock on a glorious Tuesday afternoon in Tucson, Arizona.
Hold it.
It's the middle of the workday for most people. But here at one of the top golf courses in the country, a group of U.S. federal judges, their courtrooms and black robes far away, is finishing up the 9th hole.
That's handy.
Afternoon. Across the fairway, 2 other federal judges from Iowa, where it was cold and snowy on this December day, are heading for a tough par 5. How was the game?
We're not done. We're just in the 3rd hole.
And at the swimming pool, there's a federal judge from Ohio doing laps, while another one from California leisurely catches up on some sun in the newspapers. All part of an educational program that others call an entirely inappropriate junket. You wouldn't call this a junket?
Oh, no, I don't call it. Well, depends on what you mean by a junket.
They're all here for the week at the luxurious Omni Tucson, along with about a dozen other federal judges, courtesy of a little-known but well-financed organization which finds golf resorts a nice place to help educate the judges.
That's a very useful place to have a conversation, in my experience.
Each year, about 1 in 10 federal judges will attend similar private gatherings at some of the finest resorts in the country, virtually free, sponsored by a handful of groups which get their money from big corporations and pro-business organizations with a lot more in mind than just a few rounds of golf.
This is the way corporate America is lobbying the judiciary, teaching judges to rule as if they were a corporate CEO.
Doug Kendall is the director of the Community Rights Council, a nonprofit environmental group that has linked the judges' seminars with what it calls the 10 most dramatic rulings against environmental protection laws.
We found that in all 10 of those cases, the judge writing the opinion had been to at least one of these junkets. In 6 of those 10 cases, the judge was attending a junket while the case was pending before them.
One of them, a case involving the timber industry and a federal judge who, after attending one of the private seminars, completely reversed an earlier position to the benefit of the timber industry, although the judge denies the seminar affected his decision.
He came back, he switched his vote, and he wrote the opinion striking down a critical portion of the Endangered Species Act.
It turns out that corporations and pro-business groups have quietly been spending millions of dollars to finance such lavish outings for judges. Here in Tucson, after a morning of classroom lectures, the judges headed to lunch poolside. At taxpayer expense, U.S. Marshals were assigned to guard the judges throughout the week, although they never did spot our 2020 undercover team. This particular seminar was sponsored by what's known as the Law and Economics Center, run out of the law school of George Mason University in suburban Washington, a school whose pro-business teachings have made it a favorite among many corporate executives.
That's the niche that George Mason filled.
The Judges' Week included 7 separate sessions, which the school says offer differing viewpoints and that over the years have included Nobel Prize-winning economists. But others call the sessions here a kind of ideological boot camp.
It's famous as a conservative right-wing law school.
One lecturer this week in Tucson was a professor who calls himself an anarchist economist, well known for his views about who is responsible for industrial pollution.
What he says is that if the neighbor didn't live by the steel company, the pollution wouldn't be hurting or killing anyone. It's as much the neighbor's fault as it is a corporation's fault. And so you have part junket, part bias seminar, and problems on both ends.
But the judges we talked to on the golf course had nothing but praise for the seminars, including Judge William Osteen of North Carolina.
George Mason does a terrific job.
Why do they hold it here instead of at their campus in Washington, D.C.?
You'll have to ask them about that.
Could it be the weather, do you think, in the golf course?
I don't know about that. You'll have to ask them.
What do you think?
I don't have any thoughts about that.
Federal Magistrate Paul Zoss and Bankruptcy Judge William Edmonds, both of Iowa, said they had earned the right to a little relaxation, even if they didn't know who paid for it.
Well, we worked all morning. I haven't taken a vacation all year.
Is this your vacation?
Yeah, this is my vacation.
Yeah, this is vacation.
And who pays for it?
It's the Institute.
And where do they get their money, do you know?
I have no idea.
In fact, the corporate sources of the money are not made public by the George Mason Law School, which is located a long way from the golf courses of Tucson in the suburban sprawl of Arlington, Virginia. No seminars for judges are held here.
These are academic retreats. What could be more natural than for a law school to seek to train academic judges?
Why does it have to be at a golf course?
It is a retreat.
Dean Mark Grady, who rejects the conservative label many have attached to his law school, says he cannot understand why anyone would object to the programs for federal judges, which he says are unbiased, or why anyone would raise questions about the source of the money.
It comes from major corporations. That's right. I'm not disputing that it comes from major corporations. And in fact,
Which ones?
Which major corporations? It comes from a variety of major corporations.
Can you give me the names, your 3 or 4 biggest?
We do not publicize our sources of funding because the academic program stands on its own feet.
Good shot.
The corporate names used to be publicized until 1994, around the time criticism of the program began. The list was a who's who of Fortune 500 companies, many with numerous cases before the federal courts, and also included a foundation run by a reclusive, ultra-conservative multimillionaire, Richard Mellon Scaife, best known for financing investigations of President Clinton's personal life. But the dean refused to talk about who is on the list now, including Scaife. Does it include the Scaife Foundation?
Does it include the Scaife Foundation? As I say, we do not publicize our sources.
But our 2020 investigation found tax documents showing Scaife, through the foundation he runs, continues to help pay for the judge's free trips, some $150,000 last year alone.
To be honest with you, I don't understand why you're making such a big production out of this. Where are you going with this? What difference would it make if the Scaife Foundation or any other foundation donated to these programs?
A significant difference in the view of 2 leading ethics experts we talked with. Judges are allowed to attend such seminars, but the 2 experts say under the ethics rules for judges, the judges have a responsibility to determine who's paying for their free week at the golf resort to avoid possible conflicts with pending cases. The week after this seminar, Judge Osteen of North Carolina was assigned a major case involving the Philip Morris Company, which, at least in the past, was publicly listed as giving money for the George Mason seminars. Philip Morris refuses to say if it still contributes.
I have no idea where they raise their money, but
Have
it comes
you
through
understood they receive it from corporations, from conservative nonprofit groups?
No, I have not understood that.
They don't
Not
tell
George
us that.
Mason.
Judge Neil Biggers of Mississippi.
Don't you think you ought to find out?
Not necessarily, because what difference? If I don't know who is paying for it, then I'm not going to be affected either way by it.
Or aren't you affected by who they choose to speak to you?
Not at all. It's an educational thing.
At night in Tucson, the money from Richard Scaife and others pays for the day's final activity. Cocktails and dinner on the veranda. All part of the plan to make everyone comfortable. And all, according to one distinguished former judge, creating for those on the outside the appearance of improper and unethical behavior.
I think judges should realize that they don't have that much credibility to spare.
As chief judge of the powerful D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals for years, Abner Mikva says he was appalled to see many of his own colleagues, good judges, he says, being wined and dined by corporations in the name of judicial education.
The appearance of impropriety is considered as important as the impropriety itself. I don't care if the judge can pass a lie detector test to prove that he wasn't reached. And it doesn't matter how the judge rules. What matters is that the people who have to accept that decision as having been made in the merits are suspicious.
And our 2020 investigation also found many judges attend more than one of the free seminars, including James Jarvis of Tennessee. This was his 5th seminar. When we talked to him in Tucson, he wanted to stress the judges pay their own greens fees.
There's no sin in playing golf as far as I know. And
But you're a federal...
I paid for this.
Who paid for the room?
Well, George Mason paid for the room.
Who paid for the airplane ticket?
I paid for one, but I expect to be reimbursed.
Judge Jarvis told us he had no idea who the corporate sponsors were, But our 2020 investigation found that since he began attending the seminars, Judge Jarvis has presided over at least 6 cases involving large corporations, all of which confirmed to us they were at the time helping to pay for the George Mason seminars. Judge Jarvis says any suggestion that he is being influenced by the free trip or the classroom courses is wrong.
Well, I can understand that you all could spin it that way if you want to. I mean, that's your business. You're in the news business.
And the judges from Iowa said they regarded the seminars as a valuable educational experience, but that they couldn't possibly be influenced by a free vacation.
Nobody's tried to influence me. I know that. And I
Suddenly,
don't think-
perhaps?